Hey everybody, Marcel Irnie Racing News. I want to show you what the Canadian government mainstream media propaganda is pushing out today on global news about Putin, the big bad wolf. Putin, let's take a listen and we'll look at the comments of you guys, the viewers, on global. It's freaking hilarious.
Less than 5 months later, Boris Yeltsin's resignation opens the
Let's
door.
go back to the beginning.
August 9th, 1999, a fresh new face enters the world stage. Vladimir Putin, son of working-class parents from St. Petersburg and a former intelligence officer, is appointed Russia's acting prime minister. Less than 5 months later, Boris Yeltsin's resignation opens the door for a new Russian president.
I looked the man in the eye. I found it to be very straightforward and trustworthy.
But as the years progress, Putin tightens his grip on power, determined to restore Russia to its former Soviet glory, whatever the cost. In 2008, Putin declares victory after a short war with Georgia. Then again,
well, let's just interject there. Georgia was the aggressor, so there's your first little propaganda, not telling anything about it. Continuing.
6 years later, annexing Crimea, all while amending the Constitution and extending his term limits. Putin has now paved the way to remain in control of the Kremlin until 2036. That would surpass the ruthless reigns of Joseph Stalin, even Catherine the Great. And joining us now from Moscow is Fred Weir, a Canadian journalist who has...
Holy crap, can you believe that little propaganda intro piece? Well, if we know any country that suspended elections, that's Zelensky in Ukraine, which is being supported, the unequivocal support for Ukraine and there are no elections and the death of 1 million Ukrainian men for the military-industrial complex. I mean, like, look at this freaking bullshit propaganda. Let's take a look at the comment. All right, let's start scrolling through, guys, the comments. Oh, yeah. All right, top of the list here for the newest. The fact that you ignored the folks running against Putin, the strongest of which is the communist candidate. But looking at the comments, folks are looking into things for themselves and seeing through your manipulations and lies, just like I have began to this year. All right, there's the... why does Russia even need an election if it's so-called run by an authoritarian? Couldn't he just suspend any form of voting like Ukrainians? Oh, bam! Bam! What a hit, guys. Like Ukrainians, exactly. No election for Ukraine until every last person is dead and they can keep, and then BlackRock buys up everything for pennies on the dollar, and they still want to put billions into Ukraine even though they don't have a chance in hell. It's the money laundering scheme of the G7 countries. Global news is so full of it. Canada would do well with a Putin-like figure in power. I mean, absolutely. They talked about the war between Georgia and Russia without mentioning the fact that it was Georgia that attacked Russia, not the other way around, to manipulate folks into believing Putin's Russia was the aggressor. Yes, this is hilarious. The silent majority loves Putin, right? We're like the fringe minority. Don't worry, Russia's pretty good at fixing these problems. They will be identified, re-educated, and reintegrated into civilized society. This is a propagandist joke of journalism. There was no Soviet glory, certainly not one any Russian, including Putin, wants to go back to. Their economy is booming. It's now eclipsed Germany in terms of production. PMI just came in at 54. Can we say that the same? Can we say the same? Normally, countries listen to the voice of the majority, not the minority. Canada is not one of them. This guy's going to end up in jail and then whine that Canada won't get him out of Russia prison. Yeah, the journalist that's there that we didn't actually watch, but he's going to talk about, who knows what he's going to talk about. We need a real leader like Vladimir here in Canada to restore security, prosperity, and peace. Global news is mice shit. Mice turds. It says vocal minority are pro-West, liberal-minded y'all in the comments. Laugh out loud. That means majority are pulling for Putin in 2024. In the latest polls, over 80% of Russians will vote for Putin, and less than 20% will vote for Trudeau. So if democracy is ruled by the majority, who is the undemocratic country? Bam. They want to dismantle the Russian Empire and tried for a century now. Putin will never let Russia westernize. Oh, let's watch a little bit of this Fred Weir, see if he's going to get arrested.
Than any kind of competitive election, because it is far less than elections in the past, which did have some element of competition, some kind of serious opposition that got to use the election as a platform to express their ideas. There's none of that here. So the things that we will look for, I think, are turnout, first of all. And secondly, there could be spoiled ballots.
Oh.
You know, the opposition.
Oh, spoiled ballots. We don't know anything about that in the USA. All right, sorry about the delay. Let's continue on. There is no fair election in Russia. They have the illusion of fairness, but anyone who opposes Putin strangely meet their maker. Well, that's what's kind of happening in the USA and Canada, no? Police, the RCMP, arresting journalists. Don't believe the propaganda. Remember the Soviet Union. That is Putin's dream. No, did you not watch the interview of Putin with Tucker Carlson for an hour or 2 hours? That's not the dream at all. They are thriving. Their food is affordable. Gasoline is affordable. Energy is affordable. They don't need... The U.S. has absolutely wrecked themselves by using the dollar. They're weaponized the dollar and they fucked themselves. They fucked the whole dollar. Their dollar is screwed now. Nobody in the world's going to trust the US dollar because they'll just keep printing money, or they'll say, oh, we're going to not let you use the dollar. We're going to put sanctions on you because we don't like to allow you guys to have your own freedom and do what you want with your country. All right, and there's still a few mixed people in here. Trudeau is like Putin. This obsession with Russia in Canadian media is becoming tedious and extremely cringe. Oh, does Canada have sources inside Russia then? Risky business being a journalist in the West, and Assange is an example of what happens to you if you dare to expose the industrial military war complex. And that is what is happening in Ukraine. Very sad when a country and its population gets destroyed by a proxy war driven by the West, all for the sake of greed. Canada and the US have no reason to be involved in Eastern Europe. Ukraine could have been a neutral state 10 years ago if the West had honored the Minsk Agreement. Bam! Yeah, guys, million dead Ukrainians. The EU, so the European Union, they're all pushing for unwavering support of Ukraine until everyone is dead, until BlackRock owns all the property, right? And everybody can't afford any fuel, and everybody in Germany and everywhere else, they can't afford to heat their homes. Being liberal hasn't worked out so well for the West now, has it? Everything they accuse Putin of, they did themselves. And that's strategy propaganda 101. When you do all these heinous things, what you do with like Hillary Clinton, you blame the others for doing exactly what you're doing to try to confuse and distract. Next comment. There are always people in every country who don't have a clue and actively seem to want to see their nation destroyed. Imagine thinking you're voting in an actual election, laugh out loud, the definition of being brainwashed. Next, at least Putin is pro-Russia. Our Canadian PM is anti-Canada. Putin today, Trump tomorrow. Macron, Sunak, Trudeau, Schultz, never. Journalism is risky business in Canada. Bravo, Mr. Putin. The world is saluting to the world leader. I mean, just look at the overall of comments. This is quite amazing. Wow, if they said it on Global, it must be truth. As if everyone is watching mainstream crap. Only the oligarchy in Russia are liberal-minded. Everyone else is over there has common sense. The OFC, the Russian bots, are flooding the comments as usual. They actually write. They don't really write like Russian bots at all. Propaganda, it writes like Canadians. They really are writing like Canadians. Just like how I would. Propaganda, go back to school and study history. Well, unfortunately for those liberal-minded Russians, the West constantly bashes Russia and Russians, so I'd be careful if I was them. Gonzalo Lear, a Western journalist, was killed by the Ukrainian government. Next, I mean, if the other countries can take back their borders from decades past, why can't Russia? There's like 2 billion factors into why he has even sent people to Ukraine. Most of which no one will listen to because they're all manipulated by our Western government, either here or in Canada or in the US. Stalin, Lenin, ERA deportations of Russians have done their part in Western Europe, rejecting the Kremlin's domination. Liberals are destroying this Western world. Our country is grumbling. Pay attention to our situation. The Liberal Party of Toronto are commie hacks. Next, Putin has already won this election and every future election until he dies. Why are they voting? He makes the people look as stupid as we say they are. Putin and Joe Biden will eliminate all challengers by any means necessary. Well, this guy's got a little confused about what's going on with Biden, Ukraine, and Putin, but you know, that's it's another comment. Laugh out loud, the Canadian Liberals have been in power for 100 years out of 157 and have become dictators. Next, in Canada, the vocal minority rules, and this is why our country is going down the toilet. Next, they allowing comments. Someone getting fired. Oh wait, this isn't a CBC video. Hey Global, why aren't you reporting what happened to Gonzalo Lira, Graham Phillips, Eva Bartel, and Patrick Lancaster? What happened to Patrick Lancaster, guys? I haven't checked out his channel in a while. He was out there reporting the whole time. I thought he was doing the stories with Redacted lately. I'll have to take a look. And being pro-Soviet is obviously a minority in the West. Where's the news here? Love Putin. Oh yeah, reality says that's a lie. If that guy has lived and worked in Russia for 30 years, doesn't that make him Russian? Yeah. Meanwhile, here we have a massive majority that wants Trudeau out and then thoroughly investigated for the corruption he seems to be constantly engaged in. A Rebel News reporter has been falsely arrested, and we have recently been informed we cannot be imprisoned for speech when Trudeau deems it not nice. I truly hope that when Polyev is in, all of these communists are imprisoned, and yes, government-funded media is defunded. All right, guys, we'll leave it at that. So the majority of people don't believe global news. They see through their propaganda. Irnieracing, guys, out in the desert here. And I'll show you in the background. There you go. There's Dr. Tita hanging out. She's back to the desert, hanging out with Marcel Irnie Racing News, guys. Cheers.